To begin the code, I will create a class name called blockchain. Then I want to create a constructor, self constructor. In the self constructor, I need to pass an arguments as a self. So it default it is initialized. So first I will pass self dot transaction, and I will take in an array which is an empty size, and I will initialize self dot chain. Then I will create a node, and this node I'm setting afterwards, right? And I want to create a node ID, so it is going to generate by randomly. So for this one I'm using an str, and we will use an UUID4, which is a format to replacing hyphen with a space. Then afterwards, the next line I'm going to create a genesis block, which is the first block in a blockchain. For this one I want to call a one more method called self dot create underscore block. This definition I will declare here. In this I will pass a parameter called 0 of a block number 0, and hash of this one is 0 0. Okay, I created a blockchain, initialize a transaction chain code node ID. Then here created a create underscore block. I will declare here. So for this one, create a definition def underscore create underscore block. Here I will pass two parameters here. One will call a nonce, which is an arbitrary constant. Then we will send a previous underscore hash. Okay. Then afterwards, this block, we know already the block consisting of block number, timestamp, transaction, nonce, previous hash. Let's call that block with the parameters called. The first parameter is I want to insert as a block number, block underscore number, and then afterwards I will talk about uh, timestamp. Timestamp. Then afterwards, I want to create with the transactions. Then afterwards, then we require a nonce for. Then the last is we required a previous hash. Okay. So for this one, what I will do, the block number we will get with the len function, and it is going to find a chain. So whenever the initialize a self dot chain, it will get a block number, and here we have a block number is 0. So I will add +2 first next block. Then the timestamp is I will use a time, current time. Then afterwards in the transaction we will call a self dot transactions. Then in the nonce we will call nonce. Then in the previous hash it has to get a previous hash. When using a time here, I want to import a library. So that library is from time import time library, and we have created all these things. Setup is done, and I want to take a self dot transactions. So self dot transactions as an array. I will initialize as an array. Then after that self dot I will call as a chain dot append block. Then afterwards I will return this block. So we set up in a blockchain here with initializer required stuff called transaction nodes. We create a block with the timestamp, block number, transaction, nonce, and previous hash. Now I will create an object for this blockchain class. So blockchain is equal to, I'll create an object of class called blockchain as a small blockchain. Now we will try to execute this program. Okay. Yes, control B is shortcut. We're getting an error. Okay, we are not used this library. So to resolve this error, so you have to import from UUID, import UUID4. Now, yes, hashtag we're missing. This hashtag has to replace with an array. Okay. Yes, successfully we doesn't have any error. Still now the code is okay. After running this one, so I'm going to print here. We'll check how it's working, that self dot chain. If I print self dot chain, now my expecting is that chain is 0 right now. So just run it. Yeah, we get an empty right now. Then after that I want to print the node ID, right? So what the result you get? Print self dot node ID. So we will get a node ID right now. So once passing this one, we'll get an ID. Yes, we get the ID. So we got an ID here. We did replace all this thing, right? If I remove this one, now run this code. Yeah, we will get hyphen hyphen hyphen, right? So for this one, I don't want to get an hyphen. That's why I want to replace hyphen with the space. Now after that one, after creating a block, now check whether the block is created. After traversing this code, it is passed to this definition and it has to create a block. Now print self dot chain. So I'm going to print the chain now. Let's look it. Yes. Here in this execution, you can see that one, the block number is 1. The initially block 0 is a Genesis block. After that, I want to create a block number 1 and timestamp is this one. So you can convert into the date format like MMDD year. Till now, we doesn't done any transaction because the transaction is empty. Here in the transaction self transaction, and the nonce is given as 0. Then the previous hash is 0, which is pointing to the Genesis block. Now I want to make this as a server. For this one, so we required a Flask. So to install this Flask, just we go to command line and you have to type pip install Flask. So here we are, what you're doing, we are going to get, so already Flask is installed. So the Flask is going to set up a server now. So for this one, you have to create an app is equal to Flask. In this Flask, I want to initialize a name. Okay. Then afterwards, to rendering this one, I want to run this app. So app dot root is going to serve in a browser with a slash. Now, I want to create a one constructor, or I can call method or def called a blockchain. And here I want to return this return a server is up to up the server. So this is a command for this one, and I required an constructor to call if name equal to equal to main, then it has to start the app called run. Okay, then to invoke this one, we require to include a library called from Flask import Flask. After importing the Flask library, now what we'll do, we will try to run this program. Okay, now we can see that we are one server is running on the port number 5000. So just you copy this one and paste in the browser, and we are going to set up a server for this blockchain. So I want to open a browser and I want to paste this URL. Yes, the server is up. This is the way of connecting web browser with the help of Flask.